Hello. Welcome back to my channel. It's Christian here, and we're about to get into a little bit more of my 2 cents, okay? Before we get into today's topic, let me go ahead and do a little housekeeping and let you know what we're all about here. Number 1, you are not alone. Number 2, you are not crazy. And number 3, God still loves you, okay? Keep that in mind this entire time while we're talking, because there might be a little conviction in your heart to be like, oh my goodness, why do I feel like this? Oh my gosh, I can relate. Oh, should I look into that? Yep, you should do all of those things. And in the process, do not forget who you are, all right? You have so much power, you have so much strength, and all of that resides within, okay? Okay, so let's do this. And if you haven't already, come on, brain, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate how the community of 2 centers are growing. I mean, like, I just love it. You guys share your 2 cents. I'm sharing mine. The purpose of this entire channel really has been a work over time. Like, I've been wanting to do this for like the last year and a half, but I just had other things that I was building and doing, and sometimes, you know, like, just in all honesty, and this video isn't even about this, but I just like to, you know, talk and share some things, maybe like a little check-in. Sometimes I think that you have to do the work. You have to get to a certain place in yourself, in your life, in order to be able to share with others from a genuine, authentic place, not a place of hurt, but a place of really wanting to do like good and really help other people. And I have a servant heart. Like, I love serving people. Like, I love serving people as far as food goes. I love serving people in business. I'm all about experience and like really connecting with other people. And it makes me happy when people understand what I'm communicating, because communication is everything to me. I don't like to leave an environment or talking to people, a room, a setting, or anything, and somebody didn't understand what I said. And so it's taken me time to find my voice, where I can share from a place that is like me, authentically, like with the comedy included, you know, me and my real life, my experiences, and then wisdom, like intertwining all of that together and not being someone else. Like, I don't want to be nobody else. I've always prayed and confessed that, you know, I don't want what anyone else has. I just want what's for me. I don't want to be anyone else. I just want to be who I'm called to be. And so that's my daily affirmation, my daily prayer. That's my daily request, is for more of who I am to bud, to thrive, to grow, so that I can then be fruit, so other people can like eat from and really, you know, gain something. Even if it's a little message, honey. I want it to come through. I want to be a great messenger. All right. Okay. So yeah, that's just me. This channel has been in the works for a minute, and it started out as one thing for one purpose, and then like it has evolved into my 2 cents of it all. Because there's not anything like this on YouTube that I know of. Now, there are other people out here just straight up shooting facts, spitting facts, using logic and not scripture. Point me in their direction so I can subscribe to. But majority of the time, it's usually story times, or it's people who have a story or a situation in church, but it usually goes back into scriptural, you know, texts and foundation and principles. And while I don't have a problem with the Bible, like, I'm not knocking it at all, it's just that I believe a lot of people use that to intimidate others who don't really understand scripture and who aren't well versed in contextual diversity or, you know, contextual understanding. And I just don't want to battle people with scripture anymore. I'm tired of defending scripture. I'm tired of watching people argue what one verse meant. Like, there's so many pages, there's so many channels where people do that until, you know, you're misrepresenting, you're misinterpreting, you taking that out of context. I don't think that that's what it was written for everybody to be arguing about it, but that's what it has caused, a lot of drama. So I like to keep it out of my videos as much as I can. Some of the principles will definitely be tied in and pulled for like direct use, but for the most part, don't try to argue scripture with me, because I'm not going back and forth with you. Keep it, all right? Keep it for your Bible study, because I don't want to hear. All right, so now that we talked about that, and I've kind of given some background on how we've gotten here, yeah, let's talk about holding your ministry accountable. All right. And don't forget, like, Let's appreciate the shirt raising trust fund babies. Yes, indeed. One of my customers actually has their own t-shirt business. It's called the Professional Hood Rat, which I think is such a hilarious business name. But the Professional Hood Rat is who did the shirt. I got it like last year sometime, and I love it. And every time I wear it, people compliment me or stare at me. But yes, indeed, I am raising trust fund babies. Okay, give me that money. I'm working for it. All right, I got it. It's coming. Okay, so this should be a rather quick video because I just want to give you a little wisdom on how you can hold your ministry accountable. All right, now look at me as a church CPA, but I don't really have any certification in it. I'm not going to really be talking about numbers. I'm going to be setting your expectations on church protocol administration. I just made that up for CPA. Okay, on a whim. Church protocol administration. You don't have to band together. All right, if you're going to go to church, do it right. If you're going to have a pastor and a shepherd, okay, be a good sheep. Bah. Be a good sheep and ask him or her to show you the financials. Show me the money. Walk up in church on your Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. I think I'm actually going to post this on Saturday because to get you ready for Sunday. Show me the money. Where is the money? Where are the receipts? Okay, let me see them. So church accountability, ministry accountability, and I'm going to be talking about this from like this new revelation and epiphany that I've recently had from seeing pastors ask for so much from their members, like beyond the building fund money, but just always hitting people up for more money, more. Like always needing more money is never enough. Oh my goodness, they must think that you all are just a never-ending well of resources for them. That's what they look like. Y'all look like little banks sitting out there every Sunday and Wednesday. Like, oh, look at all these banks. You got Chase, Wells Fargo, oh, Bank of America. Hey, girl, hey. Oh, Navy Federal. Come on, you got good credit. That's how they look at y'all. Okay, but anyway, so let's talk about how you can do this from a place of love and respect. All right. Now, I don't know what kind of person you are, and I'm going to try to talk in a very soft tone on this video so that you can receive it with love, because I want to empower you to go and find out what's going on with your church's finances, what's going on in the ministry, and to honestly just not be a part of a cultish environment or a dictatorship. You have rights, and your church is a 501c3. They are not taxed and they are not audited on anything that you give. That is free, clear money. Do you understand me? There is nothing and no one, Key Alicia Keys, that can get in the way of what you're sowing. Nothing. Nobody comes and asks for their books. Nobody gets to look at them. Not even you. But with this plan, you can start requiring more. Start planting these seeds in other members' minds, or just approach your pastor and say, hey, it's time for all of us to sit down and talk about what's going on with the church's finances in its future. Let's talk about it. So, church meetings. I did not grow up having these. I did not grow up seeing them take place. We were not sent to the church basement while business was discussed up top. Nobody talked about church business. Now, I'm sure that there were discussions amongst the, I guess you would call it church board or the ministry board or something like that. But for just regular parishioners, no one was talked to about where their money went, what the purpose of it was for, or like just like a quarterly review of how the church is doing and what the goals are. And honestly, some people may say, well, that's not necessary. You're talking about a church here. No, we're talking about a business. We just are, because church has to operate as a business. They have to bring in money in order to pay for overhead. They have to bring in money in order to pay salaries. They have to bring in money in order to be effective in the community and to do outreach. They have to bring in money in order to hopefully help you. So with that being said, there has to be a budget in place and there has to be expectations. There also has to be goals, and there has to be profit. Sorry, but that's just the truth. So you have a right, and you should know where that money is going and how it's being used, especially if you're giving towards a specific cause or for a need. You should get more than just a check-in. We raised this, we did that. Okay, great. Let me see the fruit of that happening. So church meetings will culminate and bring all of this together for you. It will answer your questions, allow you just to have an open, transparent dialogue, and hold your leadership accountable. A lot of leadership is not accountable. Maybe they're accountable to the church board, but most of the people on the board are people who are yes men and women to the leaders. They're not going to share anything with you. They just want to be able to get things approved by the people they like. And so that's the way to do that. And it's supposed to give you a sense of peace that the pastor's not just calling all the shots on their own, and no one's like really filtering through it or being able to say, no, pastor, we don't need to do that right now. It gives you the feeling that that's not what's happening. But usually that's exactly what's happening, because they usually put either their children on the board, family members, best friends, business people who they know outside of church on the board to further their agenda of doing what they desire to do. Now, I believe that there are some pastors who do operate in honesty and integrity. I have not met them personally, but I'm sure they're there. I'm sure they exist. But I'm going to say this. Usually money has a way of changing people and making people very unintegral, operate in very low integrity when money is involved. They don't really like to relinquish a lot of power because they feel like they can't do what they want to do. Like if they need to dip in, get something out, oh, my bills are short this month, I want to take this trip, I want to go here and do that. They can do that if they have full autonomy of the budget and the money. But if they have somebody to answer to, someone that safeguards that and keeps them separate from those goings on, then they can't do what they want. They have to present it to the board when they want a large amount of money, or they need more, or they want to raise this for that. Someone holds them accountable. And in smaller churches, this is not always the case. You're just the piggy bank, and they're the ones telling you what they need you to give to. So the church meetings will kind of help with that. Almost like bringing it to you all and saying, this is what we desire to do in the future. Here's our calendar. I feel like every church should have one of these annually, a big meeting, a ministry-wide meeting for all members. Not so much visitors, but hey, in transparency, put it all up there on the screen, because you may have some visitors be like, oh, I like the way y'all do this over here. Okay, y'all telling us where the money reside. That builds trust and transparency. And so you shouldn't have a problem with doing that. I don't care what any of you all say. No church should have a problem with flashing the financials on a screen or sharing it in a private setting with members at all. Nobody should have a problem with that, because your personal money is asked for. And I don't ever require anybody to tell me what they do in their life until they ask me for my money. At all. At all. I have a business, and if I wanted investors, I would have to explain to them what I wanted their money for. Like, why do I need their money? Nobody has a right to ask me for my business financials until I ask them for their money. Nobody has a right to ask you what you're doing in your personal home with your money until you ask them for some of theirs. And they're like, well, baby girl, what you been doing with the money you making? Why you need mine? That's when everybody has a right to ask when they want something from you. And so this is how you should look at this. The transparency of it all is just to set up and to make sure that nothing wrong can happen, that no one is taking money and mismanaging funds. If you're saying that we're raising this offering for this debt for the church, please come back a couple of weeks or a few days later with the receipt of it being paid off. Don't just tell me we paid it off. Show me we paid it off in the next meeting. That's all I'm saying, y'all. Start using the same amount of wit in mind that you do at work, right? The same energy you have at work for corporate America, you want them to give you a bonus when they get a new investment or get more money or their sales go up. The same thing should be required of church. If you guys get this breakthrough happens, somebody makes a big donation to the church for X, Y, and Z, pay the bill and show us she paid it. That's all I'm asking for. I trust you, but like we say in business, trust but verify. Show me. That's it. And if you can't do that, and if you have an attitude and you argue, or you not argue, but you talk down to people and from the pulpit, we ain't got to show you nothing, and I'm the man of God and da-da-da. Okay, well, you're saying all of that, but you're not putting our minds at ease. And that's what helps when there's full transparency there. Questions that can be asked, okay? Like, what are we going to do about this? Can we present some things that we actually want to do fundraisers for or willing heart offerings for? If we want to be able to help and bless some of the seniors that are going off to college this year, all of these things should be set in place. This should actually be the heart of your ministry, to want to pour and sow back into the ones who are giving. So like I mentioned before, there were a lot of babies and children in our ministry growing up, and a lot of people who have families of 3 or more children. And there were never any scholarships given. There were never any scholarships. There were never any grants. There were never any mentoring programs offered. And we had corporate people, leadership type people outside of church in the ministry, like people who had jobs in leadership in other places, who never offered any kind of services or any kind of mentorship or internships to the children in the church who were then going to college. Not even $500 to move into dorm rooms and get some of their supplies. Not even $1,000 towards getting your cosmetology license or learning a trade. These things should be set in place because these parishioners are the ones that's making it available for you to even have a ministry. And if it's not even in your mind or your heart to want to bless these people at some point in their journey of being a part of your ministry, that's a problem. So you have to work that in and talk about that in church meetings and how they want to help the people that are giving, because that's your community. That's your tribe. Those are the people you want to sow into, so that when good things happen in their lives, they automatically think about their church. They automatically want to make sure they sow back into their ministry, so the ministry can do it for the next students and the next families and the next generations. Be generational wealth builders outside of church, and then pour that back into your local church, if that's where the organization you decide to give to, and then watch that organization pour back into the next. And so you can talk about these things when you have open lines of communication and nothing is being hidden, and you're just now watching other people's lives glow up while you're still out here on the ground begging for more blessings to give to these people. That's just me. So that goes into my next point of goals and budgets. When we talk about having a calendar, even in a church, every church knows when the appreciation for pastor is. Every church knows when the church anniversary service is. Every church knows when the annual conference with all of these speakers that have to get flown in, flued out, honey, and honorariums paid. We know those dates. But it's like when other things come up, they're a surprise, and we need to all of a sudden raise this $5,000 amount of money or $1,000 or $1,200 to buy kids costumes, or pay for an Easter egg hunt, or give towards such and such, event that's happening this weekend at the church. Why weren't all of these things on the schedule from the beginning of the year? This is how you plan to actually be effective. This is why structure is needed in ministries and in churches, because without it, anything is possible. Like anything can just be thrown out there at you and you don't think anything about it. But you've been giving all this time. Why weren't these things being set aside? So I feel like when you give to your local church, your 10% tithe and offering, because you don't just give your 10% tithe. If you get paid $500 that week, you get $50, but then you give more. That's your offering, right? So your tithe is separate from your offering. At least that's how it's taught in church. So with that being said, why isn't 10% of tithe being maybe put towards the ministry upkeep, and then the offering being put towards these other events and things that we want to happen in the church? If you have a youth ministry, if you have a nurses department, if you have an outreach ministry, if you have a food shelter or food pantry, if you have a battered and abused women's fund or something like that, or a single mothers fund, or a couples ministry, all of these ministries should be getting a portion of the tithe and the offering, because that's overall what the church offers as a whole. These ministries should not be operating in a deficit. I'm going to say it again. All of these ministries in your church should not be operating at a deficit. If the people who sign up to be in these ministries and to be volunteers, they should have whatever they need provided to them when they sign up for these ministries. If that's t-shirts to wear on their Sunday to greet, right? If they go to Sunday school, if y'all still having Sunday school, the book should be provided for them if they're a part of Sunday school. Nobody should be paying in for these things on top of their tithes and offering. But if you're not budgeting and planning and putting that money where it should be going, which is the operation and the growth of the ministry, then something is wrong, because you're not operating this and you're not being a good steward of what you're being blessed with from your parishioners. Your members are what is actually helping you to bring in revenue and income. So the least you can do is allocate that money properly. But there's no structure in church. There's no order. Money's just being collected and is going towards whatever bills, whatever lifestyle, whatever expenses that you all think need to be paid at the time. It's pretty much greed, because people just want to have a big pot. They just want to have a lot of money sitting around, but they're not actually putting it towards the betterment and the growth of the ministry. And so when we think about goals and budgets in our households, you know where your money, when you set a plan for your money, that's exactly how you can grow. When you tell your money where to go, those areas grow. When you don't, you're scattered about. You don't have a plan. You don't have a course of action. Anything can happen and you're like, oh, where am I get this money from? Well, you had it, but you just didn't plan for it to go anywhere. And so it went everywhere because you didn't plan exactly. So it went wherever it wanted to go. Oh, child, this candle is getting hot in her. It's so strong. This is Lee Nicole, Black-owned candle company. Oh, child, is we in frame? Nope, that's my face. Okay. Lee Nicole, I'll have to tag her in the comment section, well, in the description. Little plug for the business, okay? That's not my business, but it is a business that I support, and I love her candles. They're amazing. Okay, so, ooh, that fragrance was so strong, y'all. I had to blow it out. That's how you operate in your home as an adult. And so church should have that same level of accountability and responsibility to put money into the ministries that are operating overall. Everybody in those ministries shouldn't be expected to give $5, $10 here, $20 here, $30 here. We're raising $30 for new shirts for the ushers. Why? Right? The same ushers have to pay into tithes and offering in the church. So their money is actually already in the pot. You should have been taking 10% of offering and putting it towards the ushers, right? The ushers pot should be growing throughout the year, because every time we collect money on Wednesdays and Sundays or whenever we have services, some of that money is dispersed and allocated to each ministry. And if you look at the schedule that we planned out, like, you should go to your leadership heads and say, hey, I need you guys to give me a full schedule for the year of what the events are you plan to put on, what you want to do, what new do you want to do. We have a budget set aside for your ministry. It may be $500 if you're a small church. It may be $1,000 or $1,500 if you're a larger church. But we are going to allocate some funds to your ministry this year. And we would like to see you guys do one outreach event this year. We'd like to see you guys do one internal event for the youth, for the children, couples, whatever. We want to see one of those events happen. We like, I don't know, like anything, but this is structure. This is how it works when you're communicating with the people who you're fellowshipping with, where you're not just talking at them, but you're actually talking to them, when you're including them and you're not just excluding them until you need their money. That's relationship. That's growth. That's foresight. That's vision. That's a visionary who says, we don't just want to have a building, we want to have a community. And so that is very important. I talked about a little bit earlier who's on the church board. It's important to have church meetings so you know who your leadership is. Not just the leaders over certain ministries in your church, but the leaders that are calling the shots or that are approving for certain things to be done in the name of the church. Because everybody in the church represents what is being put out to the general public. So when you say, oh, I go to Pastor Johnson's church, I go down there to Tree of Worship, or whatever, it may be, you're a representation of that. And so you want to know who is on the board that also represents you. Because when they sit in those seats in the back, in the meetings you're not in, all of these people have to have the heart of the ministry in mind. Not individual self-serving things, not just yes man, yes woman level type board members, but people who are going to actually question and say, hey, I think we should actually do this instead. I think that we should do this first. I think we should finish this project in the church before we move on to the next. I think that if this is a debt that's owed, we can go ahead and knock this out now, do a fundraiser in the summer, and then do this again. Maybe this time, instead of having a closed vacation Bible school, we can do an open to the public vacation Bible school and possibly charge $10 to $15 a child, provide such and such for a couple of hours plus lunch, and then that can bring in some revenue. These are all ways that you can increase what needs to be done, people who speak for you and have a voice and present objective alternatives. Not everybody who's just like, yes, Pastor, whatever you say. Okay, well, tell us what we need to do and we're going to do it. Now, sometimes some people need to say, no, Pastor, I don't think that's a good idea. I saw the turnout from the last time we did X, Y, and Z. And so it's just about that. So always keep in mind who's on the board and that everybody in the ministry is represented. Growing up, there were a lot of people who were on the outskirts of our ministry because they weren't family. They weren't in the bubble, in the circle. So they didn't really have a say. They just went along with whatever happened. And then they found out after decisions were made. And now I think about them like, if I were to return to church, I would definitely want to know that every voice is represented, from a minority standpoint, to a single mother standpoint, to a single father standpoint, to married couples. There should be representation on your church board overall. Everybody should not look the same, should not feel the same, should not be the same person. Some of them shouldn't even be from the same household. But that's just me. All right. I don't feel like pastor and wife should be on the board. I think the pastor should be on the board, possibly sit in on some of the meetings, but really, I don't think that two people in the same household that could discuss it and talk about it and then skew the view or switch or be double votes should not sit at those tables together. But y'all do what y'all want to do, okay? All right. Next up, and no children either. No, I just do not think that pastors' kids should be on the board. But check out my family-owned and operated church inheritance video, and that'll give you more clarity on what I feel there. All right. Lastly, what are you all doing for the community? I talked about that a little bit ago. It really should be positioned to increase the people outside of the church. Everything about your church should be to edify others. And I say that from a standpoint of, we've all heard the analogy that church is a hospital for the sick. Well, you guys are cross-contaminating each other then because everybody is sick. Everybody's out here suffering and struggling because you guys are not doing any outreach for other people. Growing up, we used to do soul winning, right? Like we literally used to have to walk, like Jehovah's Witnesses. We used to have to walk around our neighborhoods and pass out flyers and knock on people's doors and witness to them and all of that, right? I don't have a problem with that. I definitely think it's antiquated, and I don't think you should be knocking at people's doors at this day and age, trying to spread the good news of the gospel. There's a church on every corner, and people can look at you online. They'll be just fine, all right? What I do believe is impactful is having outreach events and being a giver to your community. I've asked before, and I've said this before in other videos, what has your community done what has your church done during the pandemic, even for you as a member? Have they, at any point in time, asked for a light bill or a water bill or a gas bill, or offered to give gas cards, or offered a grocery drive-through? One of the churches that we give to here, we don't attend the church, but we give to the ministry, they did so many food drive-throughs, grocery drive-throughs. It was beautiful. It wasn't insane. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Filling over 1,000 cars every time they did it. Like they had literally blocks upon blocks upon blocks crowded with like a line of people coming to get groceries. And they didn't require you to be a member of the church. They didn't require you to have tithes paid up. They didn't require you to be active in a ministry. You didn't have to prove anything. It was just strangers who could come, pull your car around, and they were opening your back door and putting your grocery bags in the trunk, full of breakfast food, meat, snacks for your children, paper towel, toilet tissue, soap, like the needs. And you have to meet the needs of people. Jesus met the needs of people. He didn't come asking, he came to give. And that's all that I'm saying with this video is your ministry should come to give. If your ministry is not to serve, then you are taking. And if all you're doing is taking and you're never sowing back, and I mean in a big way, I get that there are some churches that can't do a lot. I get that. But there are some churches that don't do anything. And the things that they do are just self-serving for internal use. It's never for outreach. It's very minimal. But they'll preach it, hey, we need to be growing this church. Y'all need to be inviting people. Da-da-da-da. Tell somebody else about us. Share with people. Let people know where you go. I'm probably an asshole at work. I don't want to tell nobody where I go to church. They probably wouldn't believe me if I told them I went to church, right? That's probably some people's stance and why they don't share where they go. Why nobody is coming to your church. Oh my goodness. Okay. Just yesterday, on our way into, we were headed up to our facility to work, and it was me, my husband, and our daughter in the back seat. And we rolled up to Chick-fil-A. Meant to get some breakfast. Okay. Roll down the window. I speak to the woman, who has a little pad in her hand because I was driving. My husband's sitting on the passenger side. And I gave her my order. I said, good morning. We spoke. All of us spoke to this woman. I didn't even realize that we'd done it, but we did. And after she took my order, she said, you all are so nice. She was like, you guys have like such a good energy about you. Like I can just feel it. We don't go to church, right? But happiness is contagious. Kindness is free. You get to choose who you want to be. Now, if we did go to a church and something like that, that would have been an easy way to attract someone like that, right? Like, what are you doing Sunday? We love to see you again, right? Like, and I'll get a Chick-fil-A card for you. Be my guest at whatever church. That was a door. That was a way to witness or just share. If I were a part of an organized ministry, but I'm not. But my point is that light shows no matter where you go, if it's genuine. You shouldn't have to be out here tormenting and harassing your members to invite people if they're really living, if they're a living light. That's all I'm going to say. If their life is a light, people are going to be drawn to it immediately without there being any force, without you having to recruit people. Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop sending people out to recruit folks without asking them if they're a good recruiter. Like, are you good evidence and proof of what we actually want people to be attracted to? Because some people are not good evidence and proof. Some people really do just go to church on Sunday and act a fool Monday through Saturday. They're not nice to people. They don't speak to people. They're not kind. They're not thoughtful. They're not considerate. They're not compassionate. They're not intentional about even making sure their own lives are happy and fulfilled. So how is that going to then pour out onto anyone else? That woman felt that from our vehicle standing outside to get our order. And she was like, some of the people that, that have come through this morning, they're never this nice. Like, they never talk. And I'm like, really? And I was like, I guess they'd be angry. She was like, no, not angry, but just like, really? And I was like, solemn face. She was like, yeah. Like, they're never smiling. Like, you guys are all smiling because we're happy. And me and my husband both said it because we're happy. Like, we're happy people. Happy people will attract happy people. Happy people will change the mood of someone who had changed their mood because other people weren't happy. I've been there before at work, specifically when you change your disposition to handle the people that keep coming towards you. Like, if everybody else is not nice, I'm not going to be out here looking jolly and stupid. I'm going to give you the same energy. What's your name? What's the name on the order so we can start it? Like, you're going to give people the kind of energy you've been receiving. But as soon as they see somebody that's the opposite, that makes them go back to what they actually want to be. So that's the way you grow. That's the way you're effective in your community. That's the way that you reach more people with the message of love, right? And light, instead of the message of give me, I need. If you don't, you won't receive. That's not it. But these church meetings for accountability will definitely probably set a lot of you free if you know where your money is flowing. All right? And that's something that you can do. It's not wrong. It's not a sin to ask questions. All right? Be intentional and know where your resources are going, because if you're doing the work in order to be able to sow, you should know where your money goes. #bars. All right. Okay. So that concludes this video. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to like the video, Comment on the video. Let me know if this is something that you think should be implemented in churches, if this is something that you'll request in your church, or if this is something you don't believe that any pastor will ever go for because he doesn't want to be shown for the thief that he is. I'm just playing. Kinda, not really. Okay, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any uploads when I post a new video, and I will see you guys in the next one for more of my 2 cents. Bye.